Someone asked, and I'm sorry, I get so many comments these days I forget your username, but how would be the best way to sort items in our inventory? Well, that is better suited to a per icon slot or jigsaw based inventory instead of a text button based inventory like we have set up. I thought it would be a great thing to try and add to this because I am in fact working on an inventory version 2.0 that works with this crafting system that uses icons in slots like in the video game Arma. So let's see if we can get the organizing features of that to work with our current inventory setup in today's video. Let me start by quickly introducing myself. Insomnia from Unreal Tech, a division of Blender Tech, and welcome to, I believe, the 11th video, the second bonus video in the inventory and crafting system for Unreal Engine 4 series. Today's video should cover adding some polish to our inventory using enums instead of structs, and structs as well, and building upon what we have to show how you can always add your own features. The idea behind tutorials, of course, isn't just to watch them or even to follow them, but rather to learn the ideas behind them to get the skill set involved with them so that you can use them on your own. So with that said, open your project. We're working with 4.8.1, and so with that said and done, remember our motto, create your way, and let's get to it. So I'm going to take the actor folder and I'm going to set it to red since we won't really be needing that. Well, we'll be needing it first off. So I'm just going to set it to a new color. I'm going to set it to a dark orange. I'm going to go about 0.75 in the green. Nice. Well, I already had that color basically. We could go even further. Sorry, I wanted to go lower, is what I meant. 0.25, a very dark orange. On the actor folder so I don't get confused. Okay, so what we'll need to do is in our items folder, we have our item data and our item master. So we're gonna need to add a little bit of information. Right now we don't really have a lot of details about our items, so we need to add something to classify them so that we can organize them, because one way to organize them would be by type. So let's add, by right clicking in the content browser, a blueprint enumeration. Now an enum is kind of like a constant, basically it's just a list of values, kind of like an array, but it's just a list of values that you can use. I don't know, what do they define it as? It's a list of name values. Yeah, it's just name values in a list. And so we want to call that, I'm going to call that now enums, just like constants. I always put in all caps. So I'm going to go e_item type. And I'm going to open that up. I'm going to add, let's just start with 3 for now. So I'm going to make, one is going to be called weapon. One, I always write these in caps too. One is going to be weapon. One is going to be resource. And what other items did we make? Not a lot. Box, we'll just call that miscellaneous. So I'll just go mish. But of course, you could have as many categories as you want. And using enums in this way allows you to prevent overloading structures. However, on our item data structure, we're going to need to add a new variable called item type. And that will be of the type e_item type. And so you now see we have an item type. And it's gonna default. So we want to default it to miscellaneous. So save and close. So make sure that's saved, sorry, and you can close that off. And now we can go into our BP item master. Actually, sorry, we won't need to, actually we will need to compile that once so that that gets added to the structure item under class, or under class defaults here. So there it is. So that's compiled, we can save that, and then we will need to go into our first person character or whatever other character you're using, and remember, whenever you add something to the structure, it needs to be connected in the add to inventory. So just connect them up and compile and save. Alrighty. And now we are going to have to take our items and let's just quickly classify them. So in resources, I'm going to take metal, nails, and wood. I'm going to open them. And I'm going to edit shared defaults. A little trick for you. You can select multiple ones and edit shared defaults when they have defaults like this. So I'm going to call these resources. I'm going to save. Under items sword, I'm going to go to the class defaults. That's going to be a weapon, of course. File and save. And box. Oh, I should be making sure these have weights too. I'm going to call that a miscellaneous. So box is 5 pounds. Let's see, the sword is, did we set a weight? 2.5. Come on, let's give that like 10. And under resources, metal is 6. Nails is 0.5. And wood is 2. Perfect. Then we can sort it by, name, we can sort it by weight, we can sort it by type. But the type is where we'll start. And we're gonna need to add some GUI elements, however. So if we go, we can close that off and we can set actor to red now. Under GUI in the under the inventory, we're gonna need to add a few things. We're gonna need to add another enum, so go blueprints and enumeration, and this is going to be e_sort or something to that degree. And again, we're going to add how we want to sort them. We can sort them, like I said, we'll start by type. Oops. Type. Come on. Type. We can sort them by name, we can sort them by weight, we could sort them by whatever we really wanted, as long as we have the details for it. Alright, so we have that done. Now we need, instead of adding crap to our inventory main directly, I'm gonna go user interface, add widget blueprint. I'm gonna call this w_sort. And all this is going to be is we're going to delete the canvas panel because it's going to be added as a user created widget, and just like our button before, kind of, it's going to be a button, except this time it's going to be its own button. And we're going to use our little trick there where we go to custom that they added in 4.8, and our button is gonna be I don't know, we'll have it look, we'll text box it later. We'll make it about 128 wide, no wider than that. Oh, maybe, and 32 high. Oh yeah, definitely, that's definitely really big, but that's fine. And we want to add some text onto it that will just say sort. And we want to change the padding of that to 0, or like 0.5, very little padding. And we want that to be smaller, about 18. And let's change that to black so we can actually read it, and add a shadow. Sorry, I'm not showing how to click on these. I just did a long video, quite tired. But that is a workable button, as you can see. So what we need to do is we need to select the button, our hierarchy, and we need on clicked. So when this button is clicked, it's going to sort the buttons, but not so easily. First, we need to set up a few things. So we need event construct. So when this widget is created, which it will be in the main screen, we need to add a variable called sort types, which will be of the type e_sort. We will compile and save that. Alrighty, perfect. So we also need to have some sort of return. Let's call that return sort text, something to that degree. Sort types needs to be editable, and return sort text should be of the type text, and default to blank. And then we will need an event dispatcher, which we will call sort items. And if we select it, we need a couple inputs. We need a sort type, obviously, which will be, of course, of the type sort. Oh, sort type. What do we call it? Sort. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. And we'll see how this works. We might get away without a direction, because we'll just need to go up or down. We'll see. So in our inventory main, we just went down to user created. We took our widget sort and just added it into our vertical box there, compile, save. And yeah, when we play, it allows us, we get some errors, but it does allow us regardless to switch between. So that's a start. So we want to, now that I know that's working, we want to add, how many types did we add? I can't remember. We want to add a few of those though. Is that gonna allow me? No, I'm gonna need a horizontal box. I could go like that too. That would look kind of ridiculous though. So I'm gonna put one more. And then I'm gonna select all three, shift click, right click, wrap with, horizontal box. And then I'm going to set that to fill. Ooh, no, I'm gonna set these to fill. Okay, compile, save everything. Test play, inventory. All right, so we can sort it different ways now. And since those will not be saying sort, we probably want to go in here and add, I guess, another horizontal box just to be quick and dirty. Copy the spacer and put it in there, and we'll move it out in between, and we'll give it, it already has a Y value, perfect. And in this horizontal box, we'll put text into it, which we will center vertically and horizontally and fill. And we will just say sort items. And we'll set that something like 18. Yeah, perfect. All right, looking good. So we'll compile and save that. Now I'm trying to remember what was our types here. We had type, name, and weight. So we'll go in here and we will name these. We'll go widget sort underscore type name weight. And then we need to select each of them. So weight, sort types will be weight under default here. Under name will be name. And type will be type. Let's compile and save and play. Inventory, so we have type, name alphabetic, weight kilograms, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. All right, and then we need to go into our graph and we're gonna need some functions. So let's add a function. Let's call it sort items by type. And these are not, well, I'm just gonna take all of these and I'm just gonna, well, I guess they would be default. I'm just gonna set them to default using this quick little click trick, just so that I don't have to put all these new functions into a category. For quickness, I'm trying to see on my tutorials whether people like quick tutorials to the point or very descriptive. So sort items by type, we need an input which will be of the type S item data. We won't use our stacked item. It may handle it by itself, we'll find out, which will be our inventory to sort. And we also need a integer, a direction. Remember, we can go down or up. And we need an output, a boolean called b is sorted. And we can break those off. All right, so when we come in, we want to do a switch. We want to switch on integer. And the integer we want to switch on is direction. Give that a little rewrote node for cleanliness. And that should give us and then since we had two ways to sort, and you would use a default if you were coding, but we don't need to worry about that in Blueprint. We will have 3 different ways to switch. So we need to on 0, that will mean that we're gonna need some more variables too. Well, we can make them local since we'll be running this function once. So we'll make a variable called be sorted. B has been sorted, just to keep it different. I don't believe it'll allow me the same name as an input or an output parameter anyways, and we'll set that on 0 to false. And on 1, we want to do a for each loop, so hold down F and click and go into the execution loop. And the array that we want to sort is our inventory to sort. Sorry, no, that is going to have to instead, rather, we'll have to get rid of that. The first thing we'll have to do is do we already have, yeah, first person character, do a getter on that and get inventory, and we could just pass this in there, but I didn't think forward. Inventory, because that's before it gets sorted into stacking, and so we'll have to refresh our inventory when we call this, which will be a new thing, I think. We'll see. Feed that into the array. We'll rewrote that for some cleanliness. And then on basically we will be taking its type and sorting it based on, basically it'll get sorted kind of what's the word, redundant, but it'll get sorted by the type's name. So where's our types? So a miscellaneous would come first, then a resource, then a weapon, is how it would sort it in the list. So our loop body will get quite complex. So we'll want another variable local called b does item have to move, which basically says, does it need to move out of its current setup? And if we're calling this loop body, that's obviously going to be true, or yeah, if we're calling this, obviously it's going to have to be true. So hold down Alt to set that, and we'll set that to true. But we only want to, we need a while loop, so type in while, and people don't use while loops enough in blueprints, I've noticed, but they can be tricky because you get infinite loops very easy. While that's true, so while it has to be moved, that has its own loop body, and let's see, we'll have to take our array element and break it, and we'll have to get its type and convert it to an int, so byte to int, byte. So remember how we had 012, that'll convert this to 012. So let's see here. Well, we'll go completed first, so we can copy has been sorted down here. Once it's completed, it has been sorted, so that's true. And we also were gonna need an integer to offset their position. As you can see, it returns an integer. So we will need, has it been sorted? Does it need to move? And we'll need offsetter. And that will be an integer. Yes. Okay, perfect. So the array index, we want to take that and subtract the offset direction. And then we want to take that value and we want to bring it over, and if it is greater than, math coming into play, numbers versus letters, if it's greater than 0, we'll put that into an AND Boolean, and because I'm nitpicky, that way. If that is greater than 0, and we need another greater than of type integer, greater than. If the item type is greater than that one and that one, and we'll need to plug in another one, then we go to a branch. This is the loop, second loop body, the while loop body. Then, well, if false, does it have to be moved will be false, whereas, well, true, obviously, yes, do this, otherwise false, set it to false so that it's no longer true. Well, the while loop is no longer true. So while it is true, however, we want to set the offset direction, so hold down Alt and set under the true condition. We want to set it to itself plus 1. Whoops. So we can do a getter. We could probably even increment with 4.8. Increment int. Plug it right in. True. I don't trust having that 0 there. Only programmatically does that make sense to me. That 0 scares me though. So we'll just get itself plus 1. Alright. So if it needs to move, then we move it 1. However, this needs to be filled in more yet. So we have, let's see. We'll need to come up with a system of finding where in the list it is, but that'll be a problem I will solve later. So, and maybe you guys can solve that in the meantime. So if our offset direction -1, so if it was say 2, if it's equal to 1, or if it's 1 if it's equal to 0, then we need to get whichever slot it's at. So we'll need some way, like I said, to set the slot. So I'm just gonna leave a note here. Get location in scroll box, because the scroll box I don't think has an index. Let's see here. Scroll box. so. Horizontal alignment, no. Scroll box, no. Because that's what we're using at the moment for this, is a scroll box, yes. Orientation, no. So we may need to replace that with probably a panel of some sort, probably a uniform grid panel. Or, yeah, probably some sort of panel, because panels can work with, you can get child at index, you can remove children, you can add children, you can get their count, but there is also slot. So you can see we have overlay, vertical grid, vertical box, or uniform grid. So yeah, we'll probably need a uniform grid. Slot. Wrap box, widgets, which are vertical box, uniform grid size box, scroll box slot. Canvas slot. I might be able to come up with something. That's canvas panel. Yes. Not a lot we can do with a scroll box, so we will have to switch to something else. A grid slot, most likely. We will get to that in the next video though, so I'll just make a little note with forward slashes, that way I know that's just something to do. Some sort of slots, and then that will basically go into there. So we'll just put a rewrote, set up the logic, and then we can worry about the complicated stuff. And then we want to come and drag off of our array, our inventory array, and we want to do a get. We want to get that index and then break it again, and then get its type to byte or to int, byte to int. And take that, and that fills up our empty slot here. So if it's greater than 0, that fills our condition. So basically, if where it sits when it goes through is greater than where it sits in its slot, and it's greater than the current index minus whichever direction, up or down. If that is greater than 0, if both of those are true, then that means we need to take it up or down +1 and set it. And once that's no longer, once neither of one of those is not true, then it does not have to move. Then that means that it has been sorted. And we'll have to do this for name and weight as well. They aren't as hard though, and we can reproduce this logic. We can reuse this logic for the other ones. So I wanted to start with the hardest one. At least I think it will be the hardest. And so what we'll need to do is, once that loop is completed, then we'll need to insert into an array, and that array will be, we're gonna need an array of slots. So I'm just going to create a future array of slots vertically indexed and make that an integer array. Save that, and I'm just going to do a getter. I'm going to put it there. I know it'll be something like that. And then we'll need to do, instead of minusing just a slot index number, we'll need to get an array. Take that return value, subtract 1, and put that into it. So that will if the one before it is of the type a type greater, then it needs to come up. Yes. Okay. So, and then in that case, we would insert to that array, I believe we will insert at the index of the same return value. Sorry guys, that's kind of hard to see. And the new item will need to work off it'll be one of these values. So I'm just going to reroute comment. So this will be this will be another slot vertically aligned where it is compared to the next. And then we'll insert into the array. And after that, then we'll set the offset direction to 0. And that is if it needs to go from item type, if it needs to go from miscellaneous to weapon. If it needs to go the other way, we need to reverse that logic a bit, which I will get to in the next video, and hopefully figure out how we can replace and upgrade our inventory so that where are you? Replace our scroll box with a panel, probably a uniform grid panel. Probably replace that with it, and instead put all our buttons in there as vertically aligned slots. So there will only be one column. And that could be extended then in the future to multiple columns to make it more, if you wanted to change it from our current text-based inventory button to say something like what I was creating for the quick slot there that I started on. Something like that, where you would have the item's picture. Shoot, I won't be saving that, where you would have the item's picture and also how many are stacked, if it is stackable. So I'm just going to save those, and I am going to leave you guys there. So I will come up with a way, like I said, to replace that that scroll box that we've been using with the uniform grid panel. That will require quite a bit of rewriting, but we will chug through that and we will come up with a much better inventory system slowly but surely, and it will still work with our crafting system. So I'm going to leave it off there, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. And if I haven't come up with a crafty way, no pun intended, to easily replace a scroll box with a uniform grid panel, then we'll just go at her and continue creating the math logic that makes sense in my head, and we'll sort through the other types and see what we can come up with. Anyways, thanks for watching from the team here at Unreal Tech, a division of BlenderTech.com. If you enjoyed this video and learned something, maybe about enums or the fact that not every container is the same, please consider liking it, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. We're on social media and the links on your screen. If you dislike this video for some reason, please tell us why so we can continually improve based on your community input. We also take requests, so we will see you next time, and remember, create your way.